and then we will get started. So Arjun, could you start this off, please? Introduce yourself and cover the first couple slides. Can't get your audio. Please, yeah. All right, maybe we'll come back to Arjun then. So the context here is just to say that over the past couple of years, there's been an explosion of possibilities at the intersection of computing and medicine. You can see here some example news articles that describe some efforts in terms of people working between hospitals on different areas, whether it's imaging or GI, gastrointestinal issues, whether it's looking at electronic medical records in the pandemic, or whether it is also looking at things like opioid use disorder and how these both come into play in electronic medical records. There are tons of opportunities of what people are doing to use the data that we have to do all sorts of new and interesting things to better understand what's going on. This piece here, this ambitious effort to piece together America's fragmented health data, also points to some of the challenges that we have of using data that come from many different places and in many different systems, and trying to figure out how to use that data to generate the best understanding that we can. So that is really the introduction to what we're about as biomedical informatics. Arjun, if you're ready to jump in, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going on this slide. We'll get back to you later. But one of the key points that we like to make is that this is not only about academia. There's a lot of interest out there from folks in the corporate world. We often work and collaborate with these people all the time. You can see here from these stories, whether it's Apple or it's Amazon Web Services and their divisions. I know I'm meeting with some Amazon folks on Thursday. And then you get just the general huge market for electronic health records. This is a big business with lots of opportunity. And if you want to go into this field to say that you want to make a mark in the corporate world, then there's plenty of opportunities for you. So, Arjun, are you able to jump in now?
Yes. Great. Sorry.
Why don't you take the next slide, then the next two slides, if you can.
Sounds good.
Please introduce yourself first.
I will. Hey, everyone. I'm Arjun Krishnan. I'm an associate professor in the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. And I am a co-director of the T15 program on computational biosciences. And this slide and the next one, talks about things that we have been thinking so hard in the field of biomedical informatics, which is not only think about benefits that these awesome algorithms can have in terms of their applications across the board, but also areas in which we as researchers and of course, generally as consumers need to have in terms of bias. And this is a serious concern at several levels, both at the level of developing algorithms and understanding how these algorithms align with human values and how they are learning from a lot of data that is publicly available, and both algorithms and data can be biased, and because of which these models can themselves infuse a lot of bias and reinforce things that happen out in the world. And there's the next slide, right? And so one of the areas in which is also opening up as a research field for folks interested in this area to perform research is to mitigate these problems related to algorithms and algorithmic bias and data biases. And there are also concerted efforts that national agencies, international efforts have come together to essentially figure out how are we going to lay out a path for researchers and consumers to deal with these biases and also mitigate health disparities that might result from these issues. Some of the areas that the field has been thinking about a lot is in terms of not just good research education in algorithms and computing, but also simultaneous education in ethics and bias also. And of course, there are guidelines in terms of how clinical medical professionals who use these algorithms, who interface with patients, also use them effectively as possible.
Great, thank you. And I want to just jump in here for 1 second to mention that one of the things that you're going to hear people mention something is the phrase T15. And this is a little bit of inside baseball kind of jargon. That the T15 is a funding mechanism that the National Institutes of Health uses to support the training programs that we all have at our institutions. So that's sometimes a shorthand we use to refer to our program here. Okay, jumping around, I'm going to take one more slide here and just mention that one of the things that we're very aware of in this field that we've all been sort of striving to work on is the importance of diversity in the field. And by that, we mean, I think, diversity in a very broad sense. There's a lot of research that shows that diverse teams make for better outcomes in a lot of ways, better results in research, increased innovation and problem solving, and better research output, because basically the more that we get different people come at problems from different ways into the field, the more we get in terms of the range of responses, the range of things that people are going to suggest, and just again, different ways of looking at problems. So we are really working for this climate of inclusion where people with different talents and different backgrounds come into play. And as you'll hear later, biomedical informatics is very much an interdisciplinary field. So it's not just to say we need people who are different backgrounds because of who they are, but we need people with different backgrounds because of how they're trained. We need all of it. And so we're trying to build this climate of inclusion. And the last couple of points there, just point to some research that says we know as a field we've got a lot of ways to go. And we're trying to work on bridging that gap to make sure we really do have a very robust and broad field of people to bring into play here. So with that, I'm going to pass it along and ask Tarika to handle the next slide.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tarika McCall, and I'm an assistant professor at Yale University in the Health Informatics program. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the career opportunities. So there are a lot of opportunities. When I was first entering the field, I thought that, academia was the only option, but that, you can come into academia and do research, such as developing, work on projects, developing new methods and techniques. My work specifically, I focus on design of digital health tools for communities that are underserved. So you have the opportunity to do research to improve health outcomes. You can also work at healthcare, in healthcare at major medical centers or even smaller clinics, right? And also work with insurers as well, or work for insurers as well. In industry, you have employers such as drug companies and Google Health. I know individuals who also work for some health tech startups, right? So there's opportunities in industry, and these are not, if you are interested in research, there are also opportunities in industry to do research as well. So it's not necessarily kind of you pick one or the other. So there are opportunities in research also to do some things that are entrepreneurial. If you want to go into academia, and that was one thing that I discovered, it wasn't that I had to kind of make a choice, research versus industry, but there are often opportunities to be able to do both. And then there's also options to go and work for the government, right? To work for NIH or the CDC, for NSF. And so those, with those opportunities as well, once again, it's not it's not that you just have to do government only. I know many people that are in government, but they also do consulting with industry. So this field, there's so many opportunities, and you can kind of decide, right? I want to primarily maybe be in academia doing research, but also I want to interface with companies and that are creating these digital health tools, in my case, to help them get out faster to market. So plenty of opportunities, and I think we'll talk more about that as we go along. Thank you.
Great. Tarika, can I ask you to do the next slide as well? And I know that was for you, Bill, but we're going to juggle around a bit. So do some ad lib here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So why is it a great career, right? So one thing I'll just talk about my personal experience in academia is extremely flexible. So I have many research projects, most of them focus on mental health and development of digital mental health tools. But as I mentioned in the previous slide, there's opportunities to work with industry, there's opportunities to work with nonprofits, and incorporate service in your work as well. Also, to be able to use the latest advances, like to not only use, but actually be a part of the development of the latest technologies using AI. So there's a lot of talk about ChatGPT, and specifically in the mental health space of how we could, possibly use that to better tailor treatment plans and to help therapists to better interact with their clients. Right. Also, the pay is not bad at all. So there's high demand. It's a good job outlook. There's plenty of opportunities, and you get paid pretty well also. And then, one thing I would say is, for me, the big draw is being able to see direct impact in the lives of people, right? To see how whatever I'm developing is going to improve health outcomes. So if that interests you, I would definitely say, listen to more of what we have to say, but I think that it might be a good career opportunity for you.
Great, thanks. Now I'll ask Bill Hirsch to do the next two slides, please.
Great, thanks, Harry. My name is Bill Hirsch. I am a professor of biomedical informatics at Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon. And kind of picking up on the last slide of the many varied paths in this field and career opportunities, you can actually go to this website listed here. And these were videos that were produced by the National Library of Medicine, I think about 5 years ago, of different people who have graduated the programs and describing the work that they do now. A lot of them are academics, but some of them work in other settings. So it kind of gives a show of the diverse kinds of careers that exist in informatics. And I can do the next slide. So what exactly is biomedical informatics? You probably know a little bit if you're here listening to this webinar, but our professional association that we're all very involved in, the American Medical Informatics Association, describes it as the interdisciplinary field that studies and pursues the effective uses of biomedical data, information, and knowledge for scientific inquiry, problem solving, and decision making. And then the key part at the end, motivated by efforts to improve human health. So we're very enthusiastic about technology. All of us have some kind of connection to health or healthcare, public health, biomedical research, et cetera. And what drives us all is this effort to improve health. We sometimes show this diagram of the spectrum of the different types of informatics within biomedical informatics, starting with the cell and the genome of bioinformatics, advancing through tissues, and then clinical informatics to people, public health informatics to population, and environmental informatics across the world. But there's common principles that guide us all together, even though we focus on different areas.
Great, thank you. I'm gonna next. I would like to ask Kathy Sward from Utah to talk about this slide, if you can. And I realize I'm just springing on this on you last minute, so if you want to pass, that's fine. You're muted.
That's all right. I can fake it. You know, that's the way it all goes, right?
Mhm.
So I'm Kathy Swart. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies for our PhD program at the University of Utah. I'm here with my colleague Ram Gorapetti, who will talk to us in a little bit. So if we think about what does biomedical informatics encompass? I'm sort of a great example of this. I come from a background in nursing. I'm a professor in biomedical informatics, but I work closely with a bunch of colleagues across a bunch of disciplines. So informatics really brings together and melds a whole bunch of different domains. Information and communication sciences. What is data? How do we manage information? From computer science, we pull in ideas about algorithms and variables and sort of how do we computationally deal with this world of information. And we draw heavily on engineering as well as we build systems. But we also draw on a whole lot of other areas. We draw on some of the cognitive and social sciences when we look at things like human-computer interaction and that sort of mutual influence between people and computational systems. We draw heavily on cognitive science, decision science, math, statistical principles. And then we draw a lot from biology, physical science, and healthcare domains of every type. So it is a lovely sort of melting pot where it brings together all of these different disciplines and emerges with something that I think is greater than the sum of the parts.
Great. Thank you. And now I want to hand it off to Kim Nerdle from Vanderbilt.
Hey, Harry. This is Kim Nerdle. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Biomedical Informatics at Vanderbilt University and director of our graduate program. Hannah Slater, who's one of our graduate students, will be presenting about our program in a few minutes. I can take this slide though, which is kind of thinking about what is it that we do in biomedical informatics. And really at its heart, informatics is about data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So thinking about how do you take all of this data that we're generating and creating in healthcare environments, put it together in a way that is helpful and instructive for clinicians, for patients, for researchers, and then actually use this information use this information to improve health and wellness for people. And that involves a lot of different people along the way, both biomedical informatics specialists, scientists, doctors, patients, family members, communities, and people across the spectrum are really involved in informatics.
Great, thanks. And do you want to talk about this next slide here? As we get into some examples of some of the research that goes on in the field. And I know this isn't your area, Kim, so if you don't want to do
I might hand this one back off to you.
Fair enough. This is just one example of the kinds of things that we tend to work on involving precision medicine, which often involves bioinformatics, where we want to look at genomes and variants to understand what's going on. And this is a display of different patients with different kinds of responses or trajectories through cancer treatment, where they might have gone from one drug to the other. And you can see the flow. And this is a way of decomposing a large cohort of patients into different paths, so that you might begin to use that information to determine what happened to patients on different paths. And then you might bring in genetic variants to say, how did those variants interact with those paths? And this sort of use of all this detailed information to fine tune care or to understand the impacts of care is definitely a focus of a significant amount of research in the field. I'm going to hand it next to Lydia Kavraki from Rice to talk about some other similar research.
Thank you, Harry. I'm Lydia Kavraki. I'm the director of the training program in biomedical informatics at Rice University. We are in Houston, Texas, and we are giving you some applications. We don't want to overwhelm you with information. We just want to show you how diverse this field is and how many opportunities there are. So in this slide, you see an application of deep learning in imaging informatics. Deep learning is a technique that has been that was first used in computer vision for training for recognizing cats and dogs from pictures. So you may remember that discussion. But in this case, it is used for a very, very important application to classify non-small cell lung cancer types. This is a cancer type that accounts for 85% of lung cancer. And the slides here show that convolutional neural nets, which is a machine learning technique, were able to not only distinguish tumors from the surrounding tissue, but distinguish two different types, the adenocarcinoma, which is the two slides on the top, and the squamous cell carcinoma, which are the two slides at the bottom. And if you look at the leftmost slides, the ones that are colored, the reds is where the tumor is. So you can get quite precise information from the deep learning networks. It's not that these networks make no mistakes, but they can point the attention of the physician to the places where the tumor is growing and help in the treatment, and take into account that these are two cancer types that look very similar in the slides, but they require a very different treatment. So here is one application, and my next slide, Harry, has another application, which is which comes from clinical informatics. So you all have been to a physician at some point who used a medical record, the medical electronic record to keep information about you. And this is becoming the standard of care now. We see major hospitals employing these electronic medical records. And as a result, we have a wealth of information which is really hidden in these medical records and which can be used for diagnosis. So they can be used to find diseases, to help in clinical trials, and also identify patients with undiagnosed rare diseases. I found this particular last application very interesting. And what the team did is that they took medical records from a medical, actually a university hospital. They trained a relatively simple classifier on these records, and they were able, when presented with a new record, a new patient that is, to identify if this record should be tested for something that is called acute hepatic porphyria. And this is a condition that physicians may not, immediately, it may not come immediately into their mind when they see a new patient because it's a relatively rare disease. But if the machine learning and the AI tells them that, look, maybe you should check for that disease, there is the potential to actually catch people who have this rare and but deliberating condition. I will pass it back to you, Harry.
Thank you, Lydia. And for the next couple of slides, the last one about research, and we're going to transition to talking about the programs. I'm going to hand it off to Peter Elkin from Buffalo. Peter?
Thank you, Harry. My name is Peter Elkin. I'm professor and chair of the Department of Biomedical Informatics here at the University of Buffalo. And this is talking about public health informatics. So this is, in my view, a little bit about where the rubber meets the road. This is where we are charged with taking care of populations. And we've all been through the COVID pandemic. We understand how important it is to understand the trajectory of public health emergencies and what's going on with them so that we can get the right resources and take care of the patients in the right way, and understand what resources we need to bring to bear to the problem in order to be able to support the care that's needed for our societies. And many of the models that looked at the trajectory of COVID were built by biomedical informaticians, and even some of the new methods, because the older methods that looked at just susceptibility, exposure, infection, and then resolution, those are outdated. You know, we had people who were asymptomatic and going around spreading the disease. We had people who got into hospitals, and when they were in hospitals, they were able to spread the disease, and then they would recover and get out, but they may still be infectious. And we had to account for more variables than people had accounted for before. And the field really stepped up and came to rise to the occasion, and have really created a lot of the machinery that was used by the federal, state, and local governments in order to craft our public health response. Next slide. So this is about my program. So we're really, really proud of it. We have one of the T15 programs, and we're honored to be in this group of absolutely wonderful institutions. We have the ability to create technology. We teach people from around the country. One of the things that our T15 trainees love the most is they interact with people at all levels. So we have an undergraduate, a master's, a PhD program, postdoctoral fellows in science, and an ACGME accredited fellowship in clinical informatics. And then we have the R25 program as well, which brings in 12 either undergraduates or master's students every summer and learn as well. And we craft, like many of the programs, we craft new technologies and new methods. And right now, one of the main focuses is building semantic artificial intelligence, that we're trying to build a digital doctor that can not replace doctors, but that can actually help to take care of places where there isn't subspecialty care in a large part of the country, and certainly the majority of the world. And it would be nice to have something that could actually work for them. We also run the boot camp program, which is the beginning of the training for the clinical informatics fellows, but also for many of you, if you're interested, can take it over the summer. It's a free skills building lab that we developed at UB, and that many people from around the country contribute to. And we're very excited to be in this group, and we hope that you find all of our programs exciting. Next slide, I guess, Harry, to whomever would be presenting it.
Thank you. Yes, and I believe this goes back to Arjun.
Hi, I'm back. All right. Thank you. So this slide, sort of, there's a lot of information here, but it sort of showcases our computational biosciences program. It's one of the older biomedical informatics programs around in this country. And we are making a major push to really spread out the kind of topics that are covered by, faculty members and their research groups on campus. And this is especially in light of a new department called Biomedical Informatics, which was founded last year. And we have a whole slew of faculty members in this department who are totally invested in this program. And the research areas span everything across the spectrum of biomedical informatics, as you heard from previous speakers, and right from computational biology, bioinformatics, all the way to clinical informatics and everything in between. And we encourage you to take a look at our website, and then feel free to reach out to me or anyone else in the leadership. And the deadline for application is December 1. And in case you'd like input on how to put together a good application and all stuff, absolutely do not hesitate to reach out to us. We do not require GRE or anything else like that. So we are happy to work with you to get in strong applications to the program, and we are looking forward to having you here.
Great, thank you. Do we have anybody from Indiana on today? I believe. Don't know if we do. Okay. All right, well, there's another program at the University of Indiana. You can see their information here. I will share a link to the slides at the end of this presentation, so don't feel the need to write down any URLs. Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Harry. So again, I'm Bill Hirsch from Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon. And like my colleagues, like the other programs you've heard about and will hear about, the goal of the program is to train individuals for academic, professional, and research careers in this field of biomedical informatics. We pride ourselves in Oregon on work-life balance. There's plenty to do. There's the outdoors, there's the food, the beverages, so that we work hard, but we also make sure that we balance things out. And like all the other programs, we have a strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our program is organized into two majors that are kind of from different parts of that spectrum. One we call Health and Clinical Informatics. The other we call Bioinformatics and Computational Biomedicine. Again, there's overlap between the two, but they tend to focus on different parts of the human organism. Each of the programs offers a doctoral degree, a PhD, a master's degree, but both a thesis and non-thesis option. Our master's in Health and Clinical Informatics is accredited by CAHIM. And in that major, we also offer something called a graduate certificate that is a subset of the master's degree. All of our programs are available on our campus. Our master's and graduate certificate for the Health and Clinical Informatics major is also completely online. A number of our programs have college undergraduate summer paid internships. You can click on the link here to find out about ours. We're funded both by the National Library of Medicine and another program called Bridge to AI. So we'll have a big group of interns next summer. If you're interested in the program, we have a webpage for prospective students that you can then link off from there. And you can also follow us on Twitter. And you see a picture of our graduates at graduation a couple of years ago, and also our famous Portland tram that connects our upper and lower campuses and provides a nice view of the city. I'll turn it over to the next person.
I think that's me for the University of Pittsburgh. We have been around as a training program for quite some time. And again, you can see our mission statements that we really work on biomedical informatics research, education, practice with a real focus on AI and computing methods. And I'm just going to give you a quick overview of a few projects. On the left, you can see something called the Learning EMR, which is a recent project where a student worked to develop interfaces that would be focused on the presentation of clinical information with predictions to indicate which items might be most relevant to a given physician for a given patient, and using previous practices of interacting with information to do that. At the bottom, you see a more of a bioinformatics application of protein-protein interactions for schizophrenia that was developed by a colleague of mine. And on the top left, right there, you see an interesting project done by somebody who's a recent postdoc, where they were taking information from the literature and using it in combination with clinical data to do what we call causal discovery, which is trying to statistically found the causal relations of what might be going on in clinical data. A causes B. And even though we were told that you can't get causality from statistics, it turns out in some cases you can if you're careful about it. And so here they were doing what is known as pharmacovigilance, which is essentially using data from electronic health records to figure out where you might have adverse events or problems caused by the drugs. So these are just a sample of some of our research that goes on. Like all of the programs represented here today, we have students who have gone on to do great things afterwards, ranging from working at UPMC, which is our healthcare system here in Pittsburgh, to faculty at a variety of different institutions, to working in industry, working with NIH, and also working internationally in global health. And so we, as I have to say with my West Coast colleagues here, we don't have great rivers, but great ocean here, but we do have 3 great rivers, and it's a great city to live in. So please let me know if you're interested in hearing more about Pittsburgh, and I'll hand it off to Lydia.
Thank you, Harry. I realized that I'm probably the only one who did not put pictures here, but I want to tell you that it is really exciting to be in our program. And one of the things that makes it extremely exciting is the diversity of things that we can offer. So we are a consortium, it's not which is led by Rice University. So it's not just a single institution here, but it's 5 different institutions. And we collaborate very, very closely in the area of biomedical informatics. So we do have students who come from computer science background, statistics background, neuroscience. You see what I have in my slides here, who train, of course, in biomedical informatics. We have students who come from traditional biomedical informatics fields, either as graduate students or as postdoctoral students mainly, but even bioengineering and electrical and computer engineering. So you might say, okay, what's going on here? How are these people finding common ground? Well, this is, I think, what is really amazing, how people can find common ground. And it also underscores how interesting this area of biomedical informatics is. So we train people in certain classes with certain classes that we consider essential, and then they can have classes that are cover the depth for the research. We are fortunate to have diverse faculty who can actually mentor the cohort that we have as part of our training program. Mainly PhDs. I mean, our faculty are mainly professors in universities, but we do have very, very close collaboration with MDs, which specialize in medicine, pediatrics, neurology, gynecology, oncology, radiation oncology, and other subspecialties. And we require that the trainees are mentored by 2 faculty from different research areas. So it's not unusual to see a trainee who has one of their mentors being an MD who is very much interested in the application, who has in-depth knowledge of the field, and let's say, and with working together with a faculty that has deep knowledge of machine learning. It's very common in our program, and I think this is what makes it very exciting. As a result, not as a result, I'm sorry, but another thing that we offer, I kind of talked about this before, is that we do require some classes which are on biomedical informatics, but then we let people branch to whatever is most relevant to their research. And it could be, for example, electronic medical records, it could be genomics, it could be digital health. It is different for every one of our trainees. Houston is not a destination city, let's say, for tourism, but it is a very diverse city. We are the 4th largest city in the US, so you can find everything here. It's a very affordable city, and as I said before, one of the appeals of our program is that it's not just one university; it's 5 different universities, and we offer a very, very broad and diverse training to our trainees. And I'll stop here, Harry.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Or whoever's going to speak about Utah.
Dr. Gauripedi, Ram.
My name is Ram Gauripedi. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Biomedical Informatics. So I will present, and if Kathy will cover anything that I left out. We have a very collaborative environment at the University of Utah. Some projects, to just give a quick example, we create the interface between very diverse areas of scientific research. Like a recent project, we brought atmospheric science and pediatrics together to look at the effects of environment on pediatric asthma. Our program itself, the informatics program itself, includes a PhD program, a master's program, non-thesis master's program, and a certificate program. We have funding from a T15 and a T32 training grants. We are the oldest department in this field and have a large alumni network. And we, as I mentioned, have very close collaborative relationships with various institutions locally across the country, and use that to develop new research areas, both in the fundamentals of informatics and application areas, stretching from molecular informatics to environmental informatics. More specifically, we have access to one of the finest genealogy databases that provides the core infrastructure for our bioinformatics work. And those who are interested in going to the industry, we have a strong and vibrant industry advisory board consisting of 30+ members who actively participate and also give guest lectures to our students. And lastly, not the least important, if you're interested in also having a balance of between time in nature and during your academics year, Utah has a lot of open land where you can visit, including 5 national parks. And also we have some of the best ski resorts here. Kathy, anything you want to add?
I think you got it.
Great, thank you. Kim.
I'll hand it off to Hannah Slater.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So I'm a graduate student in biomedical informatics. So if you want to know anything from like a student's perspective, please feel free to ask me any questions. But yeah, I'm from Vanderbilt University and we're in Nashville, Tennessee. So kind of like the center of the US. Like a lot of the other programs that we're mentioning, we do have biomedical data science, clinical informatics, bioinformatics, people and organizational informatics, which is more like the qualitative side of things that was kind of touched on earlier, health equity and precision health. And one of the things I will say about Vanderbilt is I think we do a very good job of like having crosstalk and like having these different like parts of biomedical informatics like talk with one another. I think we do a very good job of that, and having everything be very collaborative. Yeah, we also have MS PhD program, and yeah, through the training grants. And yeah, if you want to like learn more about our stuff, definitely recommend checking out our website, the Twitter, and highly recommend talking to Dr. Unerdl. I would also like to make a plug. I don't know if any of the other groups mentioned this, but we have the like summer research internship program, which is actually what I did and actually how I learned about informatics. So if you're at all interested in informatics at all, I definitely recommend doing this internship. Obviously I enjoyed it enough that I came back and I'm now a student here. So I'd highly recommend doing it if you can. Is there anything I missed, Kim, that you want me to cover?
Nope, I think you did a great job.
Awesome, thank you.
Great, thank you. I don't think we have anybody from Wisconsin today, so I'm going to skip ahead to Yale. Tarika.
Hi, everyone. So I just want to present a little bit about the 2 master's programs we have at Yale University. So we have a Master's of Science in Public Health, which is in Yale School of Public Health. It's in the Biostats department, and it's a full-time 2-year program. So the expectation is that when you come out of it, you would have this training in information science, data science, clinical informatics, consumer health informatics, which is my area of specialty, and population health informatics. So there's opportunity to not only get to take courses, but also to work in different faculty that are working on projects in these areas. Also, we do have a capstone requirement, which actually allows you to gain experience and also build a portfolio that'll help you once you actually start to apply for jobs. And so many students find that helpful and have come back and said, you know, this was very great for me. I was able to present on the work that I did in Professor X's lab and be able to get jobs in industry as well as in academia. Our actual requirements for applying for the program, so the application due date is December 15th. We are not accepting GRE at this time, so you don't have to worry about submitting GRE for the program. And then for the Master of Science in Computational Biology and Bioinformatics, it is a 2-year program as well. And the only difference is that it's more focused on computational biology and bioinformatics as opposed to health informatics, where, for example, consumer health informatics, where we're working on different projects such as development of digital health tools. Another thing I'll just say as kind of like a fun plug for it is we are located in New Haven, Connecticut, which is almost in the middle of Boston and New York City. We're close to the water, so you can actually walk to the ocean from campus. And a lot of the students enjoy on the weekends being able to go into the city and see a show or going up to Boston. So we're kind of in a premier location, just a little plug for that. And then feel free to scan the QR codes if you want to learn more about our program. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now just a few minutes on what it means to be a graduate student and et cetera. I'm going to ask Peter to take on this slide, and if we could just pick up the pace so we leave a few minutes before the end of the hour for questions.
Absolutely. Well, doctoral studies in biomedical informatics are very exciting and lead you to a fantastic career. Usually the coursework is a little heavier than other PhDs because we have such a broad field. We want people to have a little breadth of the field so they know when to refer. You do individual research of your interest with a mentor, and you help the faculty mentor with their research. And this is a funded opportunity where you get paid to go to school. And in addition to that, it usually covers your stipend and tuition. And usually in the T15 program, there's money left over for other things you might need, like travel and computers and so forth. You can learn skills like coding, data analysis, artificial intelligence, but also you learn to write and interact with clinicians and other people. And part of the wonderfulness of being a PhD in this field is you get to really feel like you're practicing medicine and being a clinician, because the work you do directly, in fact, impacts the care of patients. It's a great way to spend your life, and I'll tell you, it's very challenging, and we want the best and the brightest of you to come into our programs and help us create a new generation of outstanding biomedical informatics faculty and practitioners. Thank you, Harry.
Great. Thank you. Lydia?
What I want to tell you about this slide is that this is a rapidly evolving field. It is a field where you can use your computing skills, your coding skills, your ability to work in teams, and to also work in a way that can have a great societal impact. And consider that as you try to understand what is next for you in your career. Thank you, Harry.
Great, thanks. I'm just going to point out that there are many summer internship programs at many of these schools. I just listed a few of them here. There are probably others that I don't know about. So that's something else you can consider looking into if you're interested. And I did post a link to the slides in the chat.
Yeah, we have one of them as well at Buffalo.
Apologies for missing it, Peter. Arjun, you want to take the next slide, please? Tell us a little bit about how people can apply. Okay, maybe I'll just take this. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Arjun, jump in.
Sorry, I'm being a little slow here. Yes, okay. So I guess I think many of these folks who are representing these programs also told you about the stuff. It is one of the things that I think a lot of folks who are wrapping up undergrad are doing is during their undergrad, getting a semester or a summer experience working on labs like this, or even just immediately after undergrad, spending maybe 1 year getting hands-on research experience. And that seems to have a considerable impact on whether they get a sense of whether this is the kind of work that they like to do and continue doing during their PhD. And just before the application deadline is there, that summer and fall, that is just prime time for all of you folks interested to identify programs and start very, very early. I would say even earlier than this to think about like recommendation letters, because letters are based on building professional relationships, and then those relationships are then, feed into these letters. So start thinking about that much earlier. And of course, surely, thinking about personal statements and result statements during that time. And December, January are filled with deadlines across all these programs. There are also many programs, including ours and many others, where there are opportunities to even reach out before the deadline and get some guidance on putting together an application and then submitting it. So you don't have to wait to somehow assemble one thing and just submit it at the deadline stage. And January to March, there are many, that's the phase for interviews. And some of you might not know this, but there are many of these programs, I think all of them invite folks to come over, and who are all top candidates, to spend a day or two and look around the campus, interact with students and faculty members, and then make choices. So this process is really fleshed out very well, and I would love for all of you to take advantage of it.
Great, thank you. Kathy.
So you're putting your application together. What makes a great application? Generally, all of these programs are looking for a personal statement that shows some understanding that you know what you're getting into, some notion that you actually know what biomedical informatics is, and a vision of what you would like to do. As you've seen, the field is so broad and diverse that it's helpful to have a sense of, I'm really into consumer health informatics and mobile apps, or I'm really into genomics, sort of what that general area where you'd like to focus or where you see yourself going with the field. You typically will need recommendation letters. These should be people that are familiar with your skills and ability, and that can also talk to your interests and motivation. Oftentimes it's helpful if these are from like your undergraduate professors or someone who really understands your suitability for research, rather than maybe letters from neighbors or friends. You want someone that can speak to your ability to do science.
Great, thank you. And just a couple of things on what not to focus on here. This might not be what everybody's going to say, but I always think that grades are not as important as people think they are, in the sense that I would say I'd rather have a 3.0 student who's dedicated and engaged and really knows what they want to do and is willing to work hard than a 4.0 student who can't be bothered to get his or her hands dirty. So, if being smart were the main predictor of success, I probably wouldn't be here. It's about being ready to work hard and to jump into things. GRE scores, I think we heard from Tarika that Yale doesn't take them. Pitt doesn't take them either. Many other programs don't. So don't worry about that too much. And finally, application fees. It can be expensive to apply to a lot of graduate programs. But a lot of programs will waive fees if you ask. And I know we will without any questions asked. So please go ahead and fire away with questions if you need, but don't let the fees stop you. I'm going to have the last point here is these are the links to some of our programs. I don't expect anybody to get all these links down, but I did share in the chat, and I'll share it again, a link to the slides. We're almost at the hour, so there's not necessarily a lot of scheduled time for questions, but I know I'm happy to stay on if anybody has any. So please fire away. And now or later, we'd love to hear from you. And I will also put my email in the chat if you want to send me an email later. So questions?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Good day, everyone. My name is Abbas, and I'm from Nigeria. Presently, I'm in Kazakhstan, Central Asia. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and a master's degree in biomedical engineering. So, and I am so interested and passionate about this bioinformatics program because I can see that this is a very good field for me to actually integrate and combine my skills, both in computer science and medical fields that I have. So, and I'm really looking forward to talk to any of the professors that can actually have some kind of talk with me in their project or something like that. So, and I'm passionate and I have skills, good skills. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said, I put my email in the chat. I'd be happy to get an email and discuss anything with you.
And Harry, I just reached out. I don't know if anyone else in this group, but some of us are involved in the NIH Data Science Initiative for Africa. And, you know, there could be opportunity. There's a lot of programs developing in African countries. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I can try to connect you with some people who may be able to give you advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're in one of those with Fogarty, with both the program in Zimbabwe and another one in Jamaica, if that helps anybody who's on the phone. Or call.
Some people are jumping off because they have the next meeting to go to at the top of the hour. But I'm here for a few minutes and I think others will stay on. So any other questions?
Harry, I have to go, but sign me up for whatever you want me to do.
Thank you,
I'm
Peter.
at your service. Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Same here. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so I'm not hearing any further questions, so I will probably say thank you so much. Okay, here. Logina, is it? The question here, if I need to know or have a basic knowledge about bioinformatics skills, what online courses can I enroll in? It will give me a basic knowledge about the bioinformatics skills as my research focus on cancer research. So what I would say to that is that it's not necessarily bioinformatics skills that I would look for. It's really sort of having a little bit of technical competence. And what I really say to people is that we like to see people who have some amount of experience in computer programming, a semester or two, have some amount of math background. Usually, what I would say is something like having not only some calculus, but some linear algebra. That's what we tend to look for in people. And so if you haven't had those classes, then to look at what is online and whether it's, you know, Coursera or edX or any of these online opportunities, then I think that would be a fine way to go about things. That's just the way I look at it from my program. My peers might see it differently though, and I can't really speak for them.
So I have a question, please.
Yes.
My name is Ahmed. I'm a medical doctor from Egypt, and I worked in the nanoscience field for like 7 years in Harvard Medical School and Northeastern and a couple of universities. So I have like great experience in basic science, but nowadays, like a lot of the application for our products need like imaging, processing, and subsequently it needs like programming. So I started to go into like a little bit self-taught, like Google certificates, data analyst, where they introduce Python and doing biostatistic with R and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, and just to give a little bit background about like the education system, because it's a little bit different in different parts of the world than in the US. So we study linear algebra and calculus and all of that like college level, but before we go to to college, so it's in a high school. In college, we go like to directly from high school to 8 years of medical school. So it's kind of course, need like refreshing, but we don't usually attach the transcript for the high school. It doesn't make sense. But really the content of since I was teaching at in Boston for like 5 years, and I know the content of the chemistry, physics, and math. It's really the same as the one that it's just like it's hard to prove it just by saying it. So I'm just wondering, like, how would you go around that? Like, because I love the field so much, and combining it with a medical degree. One of my friends developed like in Rice University with his BI, like a wonderful application in pathology and recognizing like diseases immediately in operations, more accurate than like even like physicians. So basically, there's a lot of application in our minds, and there's a lot of application in imaging and nanoscience that without it, like without the help of bioinformatics and imaging, for example, we had a discovery in Harvard University that changed. It was a breakthrough that changed basically the way we administer drugs, just because we didn't know how to take the picture until we program the microscope to do it in a certain way. So I know it's important, and I know it's like the future, and I'm learning programming language. I just kind of hopeless to get into a PhD program. And the only place to explain that is kind of like the personal statement, but it's my word only. So what do you think about that? Like with taking courses on like Khan Academy or Coursera or EDX, and there's courses about algebra and calculus and all of that, would be sufficient as an additional courses and not a degree.
Well, I think that the question here, it's obviously very hard to say what's going to be sufficient for anybody applying to a graduate program, because that's a hard thing to say based on just a conversation. What I would say though is, we want to see that people have the basic skills that they would need to succeed in the coursework, and that's why I mentioned the programming, the linear algebra, the things like that. And if you have that background, then I think that could be pretty would be a very good start. Is that going to be enough? No, we're going to look at other things. We're going to want to see that you've got some good plan for what you want to do in your PhD, that you've got some idea, not necessarily that you know exactly, but that you've got a vision that shows, that convinces us in your statement that you're committed to the work and that you're interested in doing it. And then ideally, we'd like to see some experience that really shows us that you know what you're getting into, and that's what can really help. Now, beyond that, it's really hard for me to say anything about any specific situation, but I would be happy to discuss via email.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and just say like that the idea basically it's all about the imaging to convert the qualitative data, like seeing the picture and judge, into semi-quantitative, so that it's more accurate than just colors and judge by it. Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. I will send an email and hope to get into maybe more experience before I apply.
Great. Okay, with that, I think unless there are other questions, I'm going to have to close this down. Just about everybody's left, and I know I have to run myself. So thank you all for attending, and please do get in touch if you have any further questions. I will send out the video link, a link to the video, as soon as I can get it up onto YouTube. Thank you.